All right, here we are, 9 a.m. It's been slow going, but this is the situation on the battlefield right now. What's happened? Not a whole hell of a lot. Attacks over here that looked like they were going to succeed, this is stalled down. There's now a big gap in the French line. Over here, the Cav not really able to do much. Cutting through here, a big nasty stalemate. Yeah, we pushed a little bit of ground here, but not a lot's happening. And then over here, well, they just seem to be facing off for the most part. I'm leaning more and more towards feelings of I should fudge the system and just kind of like play close to the system rather than try to follow it strictly, because there are certain things that I just feel like they don't quite work. The problem is, you know, I'm kind of two minds in everything, and so like, you know, at one point I might fudge something, and then in the other I might be ultra strict, and I don't want to do that. So I almost feel like I have to come up with some more generalized fudging rules. And there's a few things that really get in the way. Some of them have to do with the brigade integrity. I don't know how, well, not just brigade, but wing integrity and whatnot. I don't know how to cope with those. And then there's others that have to do with the actual composition of the territory that makes up a given wing. That I feel like I could fudge. I feel like there's two different ways that I could go about doing so. Right now what we've got is the French right is mainly trying to reform. You can see a bunch of dress ranks there. The center is still trying to push forward and take advantage of this attack. And then the French left, the extreme left, is in charge orders, but that's this and this. Now these guys are just tied down and can't do shit, so they're gonna probably have to just break. Yeah, it's funny because I could dress ranks with these guys, try to fix this guy, not withdraw, hold my position across the line, and hope that this unit can come in and fight in that gap to some good advantage. Over here, things are kind of hopeless. The infantry more or less just outclasses Cav. Like an infantry line is impenetrable. This is not, though. It's a clump. And a clump like that, I can do some nastiness to. There's no question about that. I can at least attack it. And we can see what happens. And I've got waves and waves of Cav that I could just keep sending in, because the French have shitloads of it, mostly useless as it is. But there is, you know, a couple of banks of Cav, or a couple of squadrons of Cav, not squadrons, a couple of brigades of cavalry present that the Allies can throw in to counter whatever I might manage to do. It's just, there's you know, mechanically, it's not trivial to get away with that. It's time for me to play Raid and put this video together and load it up and whatnot. So I probably won't be back until nightfall. But yeah. You know, it's funny because I like playing. So I especially liked playing down in the living room during daytime. It's the only time I could play that was reasonable, but I like being down there. I like the view I get and everything. I'm closer to the outside. Up here, yeah, I got a beautiful window to look out and a great view, but I'm not right up on it. It's not as interesting to me, so I'm not paying as much attention to what's going on out there. So it's not too different between day and night when I'm up here. But what I really should be doing during the day is leaving the house. Anyway, that's it for now. Back up here, it's probably around 3 in the morning at this point. I haven't been playing Raid the whole time. I slept for a while, so at least there's that. And another good thing, they're like, they pack it so they jam the events together now. Like when I first started playing, you would be kind of 2 weeks on an event, 2 weeks off. Now it's like 2-week event, 2-week event, 2-week event, 2-week event. So, but the 2-week event that's coming that just started, I don't need to do. So that's cool. I fired my artillery. I remembered to shoot this one, and got some effect there. Some converging fire over here got me an effective there. I got lucky with an effective here. This one I'm limbering. I mean, I don't know if this one was worth it, but it was the only thing I could hit. But we're starting to get out 1, 2, 3, 4 hexes. Yeah, that's getting kind of crazy, so I'm going to try to swing it over here, get some fire support into that area. I'm just making sure I didn't shoot at anything I'm not allowed to. But I think I did. I think I'm okay. I only fired over one of my units in any case. And now we go here. And again, the French are kind of fucked because they have a better leader, so they have the disadvantage of making their choice first. Yeah. Something I haven't done before, and I'm afraid that the game is going to just make a mess out of this. But because again, competing requirements, I'll look at how they are and probably fudge what I need to do. But I decided I'm going to, and I succeeded, in switching Ramsey with this Hanoverian Cav. I'm going to get the Cav over here to face these guys, move the Ramsey unit over here where it can screw with that infantry. I don't know if that's actually a good idea, but defending this line is really painful, and I kind of want to tighten up how much infantry I have in place. By the way, it was pointed out that this is the only hex in the game that has this horrible situation where it's kind of trapped in a possible place where it can't, where there's an overlap. I'm not sure that's the case. I mean, I have this corner here. This looks similar. But this is like, it goes in and then it goes out, right? Whereas this just dents once, so I'd be able to retreat into either of these two hexes. I mean, I could be in a horrible facing like this way. That didn't make a lot of sense. Also, this is right up on the front line. And that's part of the problem. I'm looking over here. This is the setup line. That's not going to be in effect. I'm just trying to see if all curves are that way. I don't think they are. There might be something weird going on here. This looks kind of painful, but not as bad, I think. Yeah, that looks really bad. Anyway, onward. A lot of big changes. I got this one where we're reversing the Hanoverian and the Ramsey over there. I've got the Tianj trying to make its way up after it did that little parade maneuver of silliness. And I think that's the only thing that was effective. I made a lot of other attempts, but, you know, with ideas like, hey, I should transfer a cav over here so that maybe the Danes can move over or something like that. I think I just passed over here. I just followed the French choices. Wherever France chose something, I flipped over the opposite Allied force with the idea of, yeah, let's make them make their decision on each sector. I don't know if that's really important. And that'll put me over to the brigade activation. The phase marker, I barely use it, man. And it's okay. I mean, what would you do otherwise? You know, I don't know what other information or value could be put on this chart beyond what's there, and I don't see anywhere you could put it on the board. I mean, there are areas. There's too much board in some places but it's possible you could get pushed back there. I don't think you're fighting anymore if you did, but we'll see. I mean, everything's just so locked up on that front line right now. Do I have any oomph in me to do the charges? Well, first of all, there is an allied charge. We start with the French, but there will be an allied charge that must take place. That unit must be activated immediately after the French one. So since I probably will have trouble remembering, I guess I should do the charges at the very least. Now this is something I kind of like that reminds me of Musket and Pike and its predecessor 1066 Hastings. At least in my experience, there may be something else in between that uses similar, or even before that uses a similar design. But the Renault infantry tried to drop into dress ranks. I didn't feel like I was in a good position. Instead, they're forced to continue charging. I'm in a position, hey, these guys are in firefight. Nothing's going to happen there. That's a solace. But a unit went in here, attacked, and it got a 1 AR and dissolved because of it. I couldn't get that unit out of there. It's in the front and must charge because I've got the orders. And that's something that I really, really like about this design is the concept of momentum, and Musket and Pike certainly has it, of momentum not being able to be stopped. You have to continue your attacks. On a similar basis, this Maastricht unit, it's dead if I don't get out of charge, that top unit in there. And I'm not really able to do anything with anything else, right? This front unit will attack. It'll take the first fire from the Renault, get killed. There's not much this unit's good for, but I could end up routing this entire command. It's not a high morale. It would be rolling on a 6, so that's not great. So I think I try to fix things. I'm going from charge to dress ranks as a 4, and I have a firefight, don't I? Or are these, no these, oh fuck. These are the English, which is that cav over there. I think these are the guard. Yeah, these are first guards. So they're not actually, nice. They're not part of the Dutch unit that's there. And I could tell it's not part of the same unit by the color of the stripe, but first guards don't have a stripe. So I would also think it's not part of this. Okay. So what did I say? It's like a 1 through 4, and leadership would matter, but I've got a 0 there, I guess. Let's see. We do not get it, and that means that the only impact is this will dissolve. This unit doesn't get to follow on with an attack immediately afterwards. It can't move past the other unit or do anything, even though it's anchoring this or was anchoring that flank. And nothing else really could do anything at all. This unit is safe because it's in a different front. And that's the one reason for this weird front change, is that this thing is in a safe position from having to follow brigade, whatchamacallits. I don't know what the term even is. Brigade integrity, yeah. And this unit is okay because it would have a retreat path back that way. Even though it's not facing that direction, we'll pretend otherwise. It's in a village, things are weird there. So now we have, and this is when the die went flying, as I'm like rolling, and it just went out of my hand and went nowhere. So now I'm rolling my route check, and I have a 6, and I'm fine, which means this unit is now there. And see, while I was doing all that fiddling, I wanted to flip the charge marker at the same time. All right, and it looks like we're time to change batteries. We're on a French command. I'll finish up the French charges. Things get confusing so easily, like I almost fucked up in a way that I wouldn't be able to easily retrieve. The Montfort Cav switched from charge to dress ranks and recovered its position. Even though they're in the woods, they can do that. This guy might have to go through woods. I'm not sure. Is this woods here? Yeah. He might have to go through another woods hex and disorder again, but that's okay. I can't attack while I'm disordered, so it does me no good to be there otherwise. Then I went and looked at Reeb, who's in charge, and I'm like, I don't want to do that until I get the Thiange up there. So I went over here, rolled for Thiange, got charge, and was about to do it. And then I'm like, wait a minute. I rolled. I can't roll and be in charge at the end of that and activate before this unit. This has to go first. And that's the kind of shit that, like, it's clear enough in the rules. It's nothing, you know, but it's hard to remember and to kind of internalize that knowledge. And now Reeb got address ranks. By the way, I don't like that the casualties and artillery markers look exactly the same color-wise, and kind of are similar in certain other ways. Yeah. There's a starburst here, and there's something a little different here. But I'm constantly throwing them in the wrong thing or finding the wrong piece in the wrong place or whatever. But now I'm in a troubled position. I succeeded in getting my dress ranks. I was going to recover this, but if I do that, these all have to fall back out of their firefight position. So let's see what the van something or other is in. It's in address ranks formation orders as well. And with that, they can just move back up and take all the locations they're in. But the other option is I can move this one hex forward and not recover it. I have to comply with my order situation. I actually think that's what I want to do instead, and hold these guys pinned and try to drive into here with Thiange later. I think. I don't know. But I sure don't want to give up the space I fought hard to get, right? Even though I can't push on from it. And another funky little timing issue. So the guards is in charge. I'm not sure I really want to charge with them. And there are units in the front. They've got a couple in firefights. Oh boy. The ashes. Not burning again, but they're annoying. I don't like them on the board, that's all. Oh, this is greater. This is Salus. Salus? What the fuck's Salus? What is... Oh, shit. No, Salus is not across the line. Okay. This is where guard starts. A couple firefights. I can't move into here and attack. Some fresh units in the back. Is there an artillery under there? No. That would suck. This guy, you know, be at bad odds. He's also badly damaged, so he'll probably get himself killed, and I can't do anything else. This guy's pretty beat up. He'll probably get himself killed. But here's the thing. Hebronville is in charge. That means he will automatically get to go next and fill this location. Oh, at this point, I have also, I believe, succeeded in destroying the 2 hexes that are under here, and I'll put that in place. But I'm going to try to dress ranks. Now, I'm at a 3 with no modifiers. Unfortunately, again, I moved my big commander over here. That helped me do a lot of the stuff I'm doing. Yeah, I'm stuck charging. We're going to see the guards fall apart, I think. Not as bad as I feared. I got a firefight here. I got a 1 DR. That means the defender takes the first hit on Churchill here. It's fine. I mean, he's not fine. That retreat is going to be due, right? Then this takes a hit because I didn't destroy that. And then the defender, I think, still has to retreat, and he's blocked from his retreat because I've got my flanks filled here. So, let's see what happens. We get an eliminated. This feels a little funny. It feels like I shouldn't be forced to retreat by something that I dissolved. But, hey, weird shit happens. I made a morale check already for the guards, or I didn't have to because they're the guards after all. They're pretty good. I needed to roll an 11 or less. Let's check Churchill though. Churchill is at 9,876. He could go. He does not. That means Hebronville had to go forward. Now I brought both units forward, and then the rear unit. This is not him, right? The rear unit had to follow. I could have left a column there. And now I get to choose my attack. It doesn't really matter. I kind of picked this one because I knew his retreat was blocked, and that would be kind of cool. But now I'm at evens. There. Let's roll the attack and see what happens. I get a 0. That's good. That means a defender retreat result. Which one did I want to hit? I don't know. I'm going to perhaps be hitting here. I'm not going to be hitting over here, so I would have chosen this one. So he falls back. Hebronville advances. And now he's in that column anyway. And I didn't mark him as finished yet. So that's the end of all the charges. And you can see we kind of expanded what happened. Even though we lost a unit, we cost the Brits a unit too, and we gained some ground. I would say overall that's been a plus over there. A pretty good one. I know this is a lot of work, what's coming up, and I kind of don't want to do it. Although honestly, it's not that much. A lot of it's just flipping counters and passing. That's going to put it over to the Brits for the first of the move order units. And I feel kind of like I have to keep playing, otherwise I'm going to lose my place, not so much, you know, in terms of my line of thought, because this is interesting. This is interesting. There's stuff going on that I need to cope with that I can't really take a break for. Here we are again in a position where I think I'm being boned by the arbitrary nature of these front divisions. What feels arbitrary to me, at least. I've got these second guards, English, who are holding this position. What I'd like to do, I don't know precisely what I want to do. What I'd really like to do is I'd like to dress ranks, pull this top unit off back to here. That would actually have to be both units moving back. And then I could fill in the line here, but I can't do that because that's not part of my wing. And again, you know, I'm kind of on this, it's like anywhere else in the battlefield I could do that. I can't do it here, and I just don't feel like somebody's out there with a tape measure trying to figure out, are you allowed to move that, you know, an extra. Okay, let's see what the scale is. I'm sure we have scale on here. I don't know. I don't see a scale. Which is kind of weird. Here we go, map. Approximately 225 to 250 meters across. So an extra 125 meters or so. Am I allowed to make that move? Right? I just do not see it. I really believe that this whole, the whole nature of the wings is just too rigid. But then, let's say I fuzz it and say you can move one hex on the other side of the wing if you kind of have to. But then that essentially makes the fuzz line go another hex, that's all. You know, it puts you in the same damn position as you're falling back. And again, I really feel like I should be defining the wings with something like that 1914 system does, where, you know, you just project it out coming from behind and you try your best, you know, to formulate what's going to be happening behind. I think that's a better design concept than this. This forcing everything to be absolutely rigid everywhere is, well, on every boundary, right? Not that, I mean, there's a lot of other rigidity in the game too, which is okay. That all makes sense. That all feeds into the linear in a way that makes sense to me to some extent, but the divisions do not. So, yeah, I'm in a position where I don't know what I want to do, what I can do, right? The move order is no good. So I would be allowed to pull both of these back and pull this back. I don't want to do that. I think I probably just pass, but I probably don't choose that unit now. And I've put a lot of thought into that, you know, that little sector because of it. Well, something that's, you know, totally anathema to linear combat is I've got a gap in my line here, right? This has nothing to do with, you know, the rules particularly causing any problems, except that this first guard's moved back and there's nothing covering the front there. But now I've got a gap in the line. I've got no real way to fix that. I mean, I guess I could back up with the Hanoverians, but again, I don't really want to do that. But they're who I'm going to do, assuming they're allowed to. I'm going to try to get them into dress ranks. So they're going from march to dress ranks. That's a 2. I'm in a firefight, so that drops me to a 1, and I have no leadership. And yeah, I'm going with a lot of detail here. So that leaves them in march, and there's absolutely nothing they want to do about that. So they seem like a good unit to pass. But I'm trying to show you some of, you know, what kind of reflects out of the game system in terms of, am I saying this wouldn't be possible? Yeah, you know, these guys are pinned, and they weren't able to change orders. I'm good with them being in trouble, right? The only problem is, these are part of this. What's up with that? What did I do with first guards? They're in the back. This should not be here. But I didn't realize, because of the color of the counters, I didn't realize that they were not in conformance. So that's something I have to remember as well, is that I have to do some, yeah, I think to some extent you're going to fuck up some of the conformance, right? Like here, this would have withdrawn to here, and this would have had to withdraw back as well. It still would have been illegal because they wouldn't be able to fix their problem with Maastricht, but at least they'd be heading in the right direction. But yeah, they didn't, and too bad, right? Okay. So I don't know what I'm doing. The system is very easy to cheat with. Like, accidentally fuck something up that you shouldn't be allowed to do. And, you know, look, there's some leeway. I feel like all games I make mistakes, right? But I feel like this one is just designed to generate those kind of mistakes in huge quantities. Where honestly, you know, playing with an opponent, maybe your opponent catches you, but your opponent's going to have to be watching you like a fucking hawk. Not to see that whether you cheat or not, but whether you inadvertently fuck something up. In order to be of much use in that situation. And I don't mind so much when I'm playing solo, but I always feel terrible, especially if it gives me some advantage, when I fuck something up like that. And it's like I'm playing in an opposed game. Even when my opponent's like, oh, this is no big deal, man, who cares? But I'm like, yeah, but with what I did, I should have given you both of these hexes, not just this one, right? I don't know. Is that even right? I don't know. I'm trying to figure out what the fuck these are. These are the second guards, not first guards. They say first guards. Where the fuck's the first guards? Do we have another unit that's fucked up? Did I screw something else up? No, here are the first guards. Yeah. The second guards, where the hell are they? They're over here. Okay. On the other side of the Hanover unit. All right. And that's what happened. So this was in the second line. It couldn't conform. It just couldn't. And Maastricht, I think, couldn't conform. I don't know. Maybe this should have had to be up there. Again, I don't know. It's just so fucking ugly. Sure, I could have just moved this up into place here. Right? Because Maastricht had to go before anything else did. So that actually clears some space where I think I can get out of here. I don't know, again, because facing with villages, do I have to withdraw into this hex? Yeah. Right? That's going to cause issues. After fiddling around with these Nassau guards or whatever back here and shifting my front, they were unable to get the dress ranks that they wanted. The French move over to the Thiange unit, finally. Was it first chance to? Yeah. And I managed to get a charge with all my good leadership over there. But it's kind of iffy where I put the backup unit, right? I'm attacking into here. Now, if I succeed in taking this hex, good stuff happens. But I wanted to attack here first. I was going to put the second, like a second line in one of these two hexes with the thought of, well, if I lose the fight, at least I have some coverage. Or if, you know, Reeb falls back or Renault falls back, I have a flank covered. But it turned out I would rather have it in the center, because if this guy falls or this guy, well, if either one of these fall, then I have the flank covered. So anyway, we did first fire here. We're at +1. I'll just roll that attack out. Plus, I might end up advancing, in which case I got problems there as well. And how do I want to be aiming? I think I want to be aiming this way anyway, based on the advance. I get a 4, and it's a for fuck's sake. That's just my term for the firefights, because they kind of suck. I'll do the rest of them and maybe come back, maybe not. Here's what I got out of this is I was forced back. I didn't attack into the town. I attacked all in this kind of order. This guy firefought. This guy got pushed back. And this guy succeeded in his advance. I'm keeping this guy back here to cover my line, right? All the things are at weird angles and whatnot. Succeeded in his advance, destroying one of the Van Helsing units or whatever. Van Hayden did not rout him, but now I'm like I'm getting some pushing around to the north, I guess, of Neerwinden. And I'm fatigued, so I'm gonna put this over here. This is going to be more of the same. The Brits are going to be doing their maneuver check, their maneuver units, move order units. There are just so many move order units that you never get around to the stuff that's trying to dress ranks until the entire area of the front is done. Which I don't know if that's good or bad. Honestly, I don't know if it has any real horrible implications, but it does, again, feel kind of weird. It's like, I want to do this stuff at the front and then figure out what I'm doing at the back. And if I don't know what's going on at the front, it's kind of hard to decide what I'm going to do in the back. But on the other hand, the stuff in the back can sit on the back burner for a turn, you know. So it's not a big deal that all of these have to go. It just feels like it delays my chance of being able to make a turn go more quickly by you know, saying I pass or whatever, because I don't care about most of these units. I tried to sleep for a couple hours and I didn't succeed, and now it's like bright and sunny and cold as winter is here, which is kind of weird. You know, it felt like spring was here, and no, it's not. Anyway, I had myself a breakfast. I often have breakfast. I don't often talk about it. It's been donuts the last few days, but today brie cheese, baked a head of garlic, and a tin of oysters that I found in the trash on Friday. Anyway, let's do a little bit more. Now let's take a look. The French Surbec infantry wasn't able to switch dress ranks. I did a little bit of shifting around. You can see a unit marching back, doing that kind of stupid about face march forward, doesn't have enough movement points, shifts one direction point. But this, I'm really worried about this. I want to do a swap, and it's not easy, man. So I think the requirement is that I have to get them into position above and beyond anything about units overlapping each other. Because what's going to happen here, and honestly, this is already overlapping as far as I'm concerned. I don't know. Like, it's so hard to tell what this line is. Like, this line feels like that's the front facing this way, but this line is the front facing this way, and I don't feel like I can be in these two rows anyway. But both of these are in march formation. I get to move one of them. If I move Ramsey, say, I could come across 1, 2, 3, and then I can't come over there, all right? And I'm now in front of this. Now, the problem is that the line is bending here, right? Kinda. Because I've got a frontage here and a frontage here. And I feel like I need some leeway with that. I can't walk through the cav. Cav are allowed to walk through something. All right. Let's see about this. This is linear warfare section. That's just combat. Like this particular order of shift left to right, exchange with adjacent brigades. I think this is going to cause problems no matter what, because you have to pass in front of or behind a unit. Now, I want to look at the, let's see how this is working. Yeah, this doesn't tell you anything about that. And then, you know, we've got all kind of stuff. Non-compliance to transfers and commitments. This is not one of those, right? This is a passage this is a shifting left or right. You may sort of have the same situation with the passage of lines, right? That's committing from a reserve. No, that's pushing. You might have it there where you have to push through. Anyway, I feel like I need to move the cav first to get it into a position where I can allow the infantry out. So I think that's what I'm going to do. So I'll flip them over, and I'm going to kind of try to position them back here. That's going to leave a gap. I got no choice. I can't move two brigades at the same time, which is kind of the problem here. So I end up like this, which I still believe is obviously a violation because I'm behind this, but I'm trying to create a line here. This other line will be here. I'm projecting something, but I can't get into compliance when I have both brigades have to do something to do so, and they can't do it simultaneously. And what's worse, they can't really pass through each other and whatnot. And I think there's a lot of cases of that nature in this game that are just not described as to how they're going to be accomplished. Like this, it tells you how you succeed in the die roll, but then there's no further rules. What you get to is brigade integrity, which is over there, and then over here, which is things you can't do, right? In the command, yeah, when the command display is a certain way, the things you can't do because of it. So like, you can't have units in the same sorry, units that are in the same wing and line can't overlap like this. Well, we did. We violate that. Units in the same wing but different lines, no big deal there. That's a matter of you can't get too close. These pictures don't really align with it necessarily. And then units from different wings at the wing boundary. .24, 4.25. Yeah. And there is no 4.25. That must be the missing rule. Maybe that's what's missing, right? Maybe there's like a series of rules that cover this. Because I know that there's a rule that got overwritten or got covered by graphics and didn't actually make it into the rule book. And that's perhaps what's here. I'm going to try my best with this. I think that's probably what it's going to be basically saying. But yeah, because somebody published or wrote, not under this game, but in the BGG War Games general forum, about, look, you know, is it the fact that like there are living rules? Is that what's causing rule books to be printed and put out early in kind of bad shape? I don't think it's the case. I replied in the post about this. First of all, if you look at, you know, old Avalon Hill and SPI rules, sometimes they were fine, mostly. They almost always had some errors. Sometimes they were absolutely hideous, and you looked at them and you said, how did this get past? And you know, my poster child for that is Struggle of Nations, right? As one of the worst rule books out there. Oh, okay, there's others that are pretty damn bad. A beautiful game that I don't see here. There, Wizards. But that's just way out there, like, and it's fantasy, and I feel like there are people who looked at fantasy. I feel like their division there was different from like the people who looked at other stuff. Most of their fantasy games were pretty simple though, and that's one that just like kind of feels like they sort of gave you the notes for the rules, a la Popes and Princes. And then, you know, through a later period, I did Campaigns of Marlborough. Horrible, horrible rule book. 3W had a tendency to really fuck a lot of shit up, where things were just produced in bad shape. And, you know, I just think what it is a couple of things. One is publishers, you know, they need to get their games out in a certain amount of time. They have a publishing schedule that they have to follow and whatnot. Sometimes games get pushed out the door too early before they're ready. And also, something that seems to have died away. Once upon a time, there used to be a section where they credited playtesters, where there'd be a set of playtesters and there'd be a set of blind testers. And nowadays, I never see that. Okay, blind testing is absolutely vital, and I've gone into that before in this series. It's get the game out, get the game to a new set of eyes, new sets of eyes, with it essentially ready to be published. You're looking at it and you say, we're ready to go out the door. You send it to a bunch of people who have never seen it before, and they have to play it and, you know, come back with their comments, questions, and whatnot. Now, I don't like asking a lot of questions and everything. You know, I do my videos and all that instead. So I'm not, you know, saying, oh, I want to be a blind tester. But it just seems to have disappeared. And if you're having the same people playtest the final version who have been entrenched in it for so long, they're not going to run into the same problems in terms of understanding base concepts and everything like that, right? Those are going to have been kind of answered in the past, and now they look at the rules and they say they make sense. Now, you know, if this picture covered all of a rule and the rule didn't get printed because of that, that's just another issue. That's like the counters being fucked up, right? That's just, there's some level of failure at quality control towards what goes out the door to the printer versus what's ready and what's not. It's just a completely different situation. Anyway, I got to find a French unit to move. French did essentially a pass. Now, did I screw up because of Reby here? Should have done something or something? No, he converted to dress rank, so there's not much I can do there. The only thing the French could have maybe done, the Montfort Cav, but again, it's in dress ranks and it's already gone. So there's nothing that French could do that could mess with this. I want to get this underway though. So I am in regular move. This is going to be coming 2, 3, 4 to here, 2, 3. So I'm not going to be able to do much. So this is going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to move it to there. This is going to come 2, 3, 4, I guess wiggling its flank there. And this is going to go 2, 3, 4 and expose like that. And you can see I can't form up my line properly. You know, I was hoping to get the infantry out in a way that they could form a line by doing this, but now I'm exposed with a flank. That means the cav can screw with me. They can screw with me anyway. But that is that. And this is the best I can do. Am I in violation? Yeah, I'm in violation all over the place. I don't know if there's a way. Like, eventually what I was hoping to see is a line maybe cutting here, okay, between these couple hexes to handle this unit. And then the cav extending down. But getting myself into that position is just not something I can do in one movement phase. And I have to go with as best as I can. Now the problem I had with the first guards, I see what it is actually. I was in movement formation after transferring the lines. I wasn't able to get a dress rank, so I couldn't leave this. I have to leave these units together, connected. So I am in violation here. Now, could Maastricht have done something about it? Not really. They have to get in front of me, and they're not allowed to. They're not allowed to advance in this direction. I mean, they're allowed to if they attack and advance, but then they have to try to rectify that. So I think actually I did things right here. I'm just in one of those situations where I am irretrievably, at this point, in violation of various integrity rules. But I take the primary as being the unit has to be connected to itself. That's the number one, which means since these guys are stuck here, this guy has to violate something. What is he violating? Actually, he's not violating anything. It's this guy who's violating something. So I'm okay there. Yeah. Okay. And I'm back to the French. The French are just basically flipping a counter each time because there's nothing they can do. The Allies don't want to move this Spanish infantry, and they don't want to do this for whatever reasons. They want to hold off on them as long as they can, but they're going to get forced to. So maybe I come to an agreement, but the problem is all of these have to flip over before any of the dress ranks go. Or I can just say, yeah, they're just not moving, you know, they're not going to do a damn thing. And I kind of have to assess each brigade at a time to see, hey, do I want to move it a hex or something? You know, we're at a point where all the English march, or all the Allied march units, as many Dutch as there are English at least, have activated. And, you know, it's a question of, look, do I want to look through all of these and see, do I want to activate You know, and I'm just going to go down the line and check each one, see if they want to do anything. I've had to do a couple of things like this Filippo cap. There were a couple over here. I feel like that was kind of violating, so I shifted them over. Again, would that actually happen? I don't think so, right? Like, I just don't think anybody would worry about that, especially if, you know, just like I had a line that felt a little bit better heading out into here or something like that. Actually, I think it was these two hexes that were in violation. They're in violation of this. If this is the, you know, the right angle to the formation, well, these guys are not at that right angle. They're kind of having to obey multiple different ways, but they are back here behind Filippo. So this, and this are all the reserve. Is this in violation? You know, I don't know, because if this was the line, these guys are kind of in adjacency. It's just too much of a mess. And what do I do in that case? Well, I pull back a hex or something, you know, or a couple of hexes. I don't know. But again, it's like it wouldn't actually happen, you know. It wouldn't happen on the battlefield. And I feel like the strictures that these rules try to impose, without going into a lot of detail about how they do it, they're hard to apply, even trying to do so in a fuzzy fashion. Yeah, I don't know. Finish moving the rest of the French formations, flipping them all over, which is obnoxious, except for the ones that are in dress ranks, right? They haven't necessarily gone yet. Some of them may have, because they were in a different form, different order before. One of the things I've tried to do is create channels, because one of the things that I was considering that worried me was this idea of, well, what if I get a rout, you know, out of the situation? I don't think it can happen, because all we're looking at is units that dress ranks now. They're not going to attack anything, so we're not going to see any problems, but I created some channels for that. You know, like here and here, where this is turned into kind of a column instead of a line, just because I'm worried about things that can't possibly happen. And now the Brits get to choose their first unit to dress ranks. I'm wrong about it being impossible to make attacks. So I took the Earl unit here, and I changed formations into a maneuver, or I changed orders into maneuver. If these guys were in charge, I could have attacked them. I don't know that I'd want to, but I did first fire. Certain appealing values to that. I might route the command. Instead, though, they're in dress ranks. But I could have gone into charge. I sure the hell don't want to do that. For much the same reason I probably wouldn't want to attack anyway. I don't want to go charging over my embankments. This Cadreau infantry launched an attack. You can see a couple of firefights happened, and this one got pushed back by the Spaniards. So, you know, the usual kind of inconclusive results, which again I'm good with, right? You know, it feels right, but it is something that I could see some players getting really, really frustrated about, is this just, you know, getting stuck to units, I'm bouncing off stuff, I'm just not doing much. The combat results table is generally not very conclusive. Okay, we're in a problem here. So, I just launched an attack on this. Each took a hit. The defender has a retreat. They have to retreat into this hex, and they'll be in front in this hex. But here's the problem. There's an attack going into that hex. And this would be resolved, like, if, as the one player or viewer suggested, combat was simultaneous. But I can't find anything that supports combat being simultaneous. So over here, hex can be attacked multiple times, but each combat is resolved. However, a player may not designate multiple attacks against a single hex when there are enemy units. There's nothing about retreating into, retreating into a fired-on hex. Infantry versus infantry. Once all movement is completed, the active player announces the attacks for the brigades and then performs them sequentially, not concurrently, with results applied immediately. Results are considered simultaneous, so flanks that become open due to the result of a simultaneous... Okay, so that's where it is. That's where it is. I've been allowing flanks to open up, and they should not. Each brigade, it can't change its situation. So I think I do the combat sequentially, but I can't resolve this. This is going to have to attack that unit, not the damaged unit that moved in front. So I have been screwing it up, and the viewer was correct. Huh. Okay. And that does resolve this situation. That's the only way I can see it resolving. Since the fact that it said sequentially is sort of part of the problem. By saying they're done sequentially, yes, there's a proviso right afterwards, but what sticks in my head is not necessarily the whole body of the rule. And so it stuck in my head that each one is done sequentially, so I just have been doing them that way and ignoring learning that other part of the rule when I read it because something stuck in my head, right? So if you use words that even if you precisely state everything, like this actually succeeds in doing, right? Results are considered so. Performs them sequentially with results applied immediately. Results are considered simultaneous, however. So I think what the result is if he gets pushed out of here, this guy doesn't have a place to retreat, and then he goes to the no retreat table. But it's like saying that they're performed sequentially and that they're considered simultaneous. That almost raises a contradiction, and in my little brain, it's just one of those concepts stuck in my head. And I don't go back and reread everything again and again. I rely on what sticks in my head. So there's a problem with, even stating things precisely if they give a wrong impression through part of it or whatever. I don't know. I mean, I'm complaining about something that's really a me problem more than anything else. So let's take a look at this other one. So this would be attacking 2 to 3. It's at -1. We both have one flank covered. Because otherwise I would have to hit this retreating unit again, which actually I don't think is that bad either. But, and we get a nasty 1. That's going to be a defender retreat. So here's the situation, though. This guy has to retreat, no problem. He falls back. This guy has to retreat, but this guy's advancing. I'm just going to do it this way and say that's fine. Both units are able to retreat, and I do not get the advance I would otherwise get. This guy does get his advance, though. And now we've kind of forced the French back a little bit. And that's good, I say. And what was that? That was Churchill. I have not flipped him over. I was kind of counting on him just breaking, trying to make those attacks. Now I've got this Nassau cavalry with address ranks on it. I think they just placed that this turn. I think this unit is already flipped, but I don't know for sure. So I'm going to find another unit, because otherwise, well, no, maybe they did it last turn. There's not a hell of a lot I can do, but I can try to change into march formation, which will make it easier for me to get to charge. Yeah, we'll pretend that it's right. I'm not sure that it is. Well, that's fine. They're not doing anything anyway. And this, the leader looking the same, just confuses me. Like, At least the Allied leaders are mainly are on white background. Of course, there are some units that are on white background too, but yeah, essentially a pass with the Nassau unit. But what this means with the simultaneousness of a brigade attack is you still have timing issues when you're looking at one brigade's action versus another. It's just a single brigade. And this feels kind of weird to me. Like, a single brigade doesn't collapse in parts, right? So, like, I did attack here. That fell back from here. That lost me a flank there. And that actually impacted what table I was on and whatnot. And you know, it may have had some effects throughout the play, and it may have had them on both directions. How much real impact does it have? I don't know. The thing that I kind of like about it is the idea of the whole line sort of falling like dominoes, right? But that may be, like, first of all, I don't know that it's all that likely, but also it may be a situation where, look, these combats are meant to be kind of indecisive, and that takes away another element of potential decisiveness. But again, the same thing happens when you fire one brigade instead of another, or you attack with one brigade instead of another. The adjoining lines between those brigades, those can collapse in between. So I don't know how big a deal it is to bring that down to the regiment level, and how much it really matters. But it is specific about it, so we will remember. All right, that puts us on the French, and they have just a couple brigades left to activate, and I think the English are done, or the Allies are done. As I was filling out, unflipping stuff, I found a command that did not activate. I did them. They would have been able to. They were French, no real effect except, whatever, my mental stability. The Salis Brigade didn't activate. They stayed in their dress ranks order and shifted their situation a little bit. This recovered. I got out of this hex and moved other units up into there. I'm staying in firefight here, pinning that, because I don't want to give up the village hex, but I want to make another attack, right? And I'm hoping good stuff happens because of that. But yeah, I'm unflipping everything, and it's a tedious and painful job. Take another pause in the flipping task. I'm having as much trouble with discerning the Fs on these units, right? And with discerning the difference between infantry, cav, and even artillery on the board, as I do with a lot of compass designs. It almost feels like the counter design, the artwork people, they may have hired somebody from Compass to work on this. I'm not going to recognize any names or anything, am I? Art director is Simonich. He's a normal GMT guy, so yeah, but again, I'm not used to GMT games having this issue where it's difficult for me to discern the game state of these guys, whether they're flipped over on their F side or on their non-F side. I'm not used to GMT being difficult to discern whether I've got infantry, cav, or artillery on the board. And I don't know. Maybe they're just very conservative and therefore, and keep that kind of counter design that they've been using for a long time, and now I'm being thrown a curve and that's all that it is. Or, but I mean, I'm having trouble and between seeing that this is infantry and this is cavalry. I'm really having trouble. I'm having trouble seeing what the hell this is at all. Like here, I can at least look and see. Here, I have to like, and again, my glasses, my eyes, they're not great. But a lot of us are aging. The final view of the battle at the end of the 9 o'clock turn. Put our dice up here to remind me. Not a whole hell of a lot changed. It really didn't. We had what looked like some successful pushes, but they're being stopped. In one case, even pushed back. That's pretty impressive. This is kind of a mess. I don't know what to say about it. I don't like what's going on. I don't know how to do better, but I wanted to get the infantry over here and have a cav flank rather than be exposed to cav. And being exposed to cav is bad. Like where I was and where I am now means that the cav can strike me in the flank or where I have units with an open flank. So bad stuff can happen, conceivably. That would be using the cav versus infantry combat table. And I don't know. Doesn't look like the infantry is likely to take a lot of damage from that. But they might be retreated. I might be able to collapse a flank that way. And my mind says, don't allow it to happen. So yeah, I'm shifting my infantry over. And the cost of that is that this cav is like non-conforming, whatever. All right. So what's kind of exciting is that we're loading up a second one in the same day. Same 24-hour period too, because those things can't correspond. But same 24-hour period I would kind of understand, but actually in the same day. That's become a rarity. When I play, you know, a Euro-ish type game or something, I can do that. But, you know, with like what I've been playing a lot of recently, things like DAC, where, yeah, I'm like looking at getting one video a week out there. Of course, I should be trimming these down and, you know, I should be not giving as much video as I am and probably coming out with one video a week. But the thing is, I'm still struggling with this system enough that I feel like I have to give all the narrative, all the discussion points that I've got, rather than, and maybe I'm just getting too verbose, but rather than just give a narrative of what happened, which could be relatively quickly. You know, if you just string together the what happened so fars, that would make a more interesting video, wouldn't it?